Henry Ford once said, you can have it in any color as long as it is black. Meanwhile, in India, black has actually been a taboo. However, if you put black on any object, it all of a sudden becomes sporty, even though there's not many mechanical changes on offer. I'm driving the Ford Endeavour Sport, which has got a good dose of black on the outside, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, I'm driving the car on a nice highway heading to a place where I can actually test the off-road credentials of this vehicle. But before that, let's talk a bit about the engine. Now, this is a new 2-liter diesel engine, and I know many of you will be like, the 3.2 is irreplaceable. And I will agree with you because there's no replacement for displacement. Of course, the 3.2 engine was bigger in terms of displacement, had more power, had more torque, better pulling power, was faster. But now we have to live with the fact that we have to save the environment, and that's the reason the 2-liter engine is the one which makes the BS6 cut. It's known as the Panther, and it is being made in India since quite a long time now. Unfortunately though, we've got the single turbo option because Ford obviously wanted to save the best for the rest, which happens to be the next generation of the Endeavour, which is coming next year. So a lot of updates to the Endeavour over a period of time. Why so? Well, the Endeavour Sport seems to be the last hurrah before the next generation model hits the shores. Now, this 2-liter diesel engine is actually a very refined unit. It offers good amount of pulling power, produces 170 horsepower. Meanwhile, the torque output is 420 Newton meters, which actually has a very narrow band, and that's the reason why it needs a 10-speed gearbox. The gearbox is slick shifting. It's not the fastest in terms of shifts, but is smart enough to know which gear it should give you at every given moment. So if I get off a rolling start, it knows that I'm being a little bit enthusiastic. It likes to skip a few gears. So once you reach cruising speeds, it realizes that you don't need to be in a lower gear. So it puts you in a higher gear, and it's got 10 speeds. That's ridiculously more. Now, it doesn't just skip gears on the upshift, it also does it on a downshift, which means that it can go through like 3rd to 7th or maybe 8th to 2nd depending on your requirement. Unfortunately, there are no paddle shifters on offer. There's no Triptronic function either. You do get buttons here which feel a little inconvenient, to be honest. There is some lag lower down, but the mid-range is really very strong, and the gearbox does a great job to make this car very spirited. But it takes a shift to 4th gear to actually cross 100 kilometers per hour, which actually takes 12.5 seconds, making it as quick as the 2.2, but still almost 1.5 seconds slower than the 3.2. However, the advantage is that the 2-liter engine makes it much more efficient. This car is claimed to be 14% more efficient, but you're actually going to get single-digit mileage numbers. But drive it sedately and you might just see double-digit numbers. But Ford knows that the mileage is poor. That's the reason why it has a massive 80-liter fuel tank. Now, in spite of the soft suspension, high-speed stability is nice. Braking performance is also very good. Of course, there is some amount of nosedive under heavy braking, but check this out, okay? When you downshift, the motor becomes quite vocal, and you have a sport mode for the gearbox, but that's about it. For a car which costs rupees 40 lakhs, maybe drive modes should be offered, specifically when the Endeavour's chief rival gets it. So while this is the Sport Edition, there's nothing on the inside to tell you it is a Sport Edition. Not even a single badging on the inside, and beige interiors, not all black. Like really, they should have actually done the full interior in black trim just to give you that sporty feel which is associated with the black color. Now, there's nothing which has changed on the inside. It's the same since the facelift which came last year, which means that the quality levels are good. They're hard plastics lower down, and the Sync 3 system really works well on this car. You get a massive panoramic roof as well, and the steering wheel has 22 buttons. Yeah, that's a little excess. The seats are very comfortable. The middle row has plenty of space on offer. The last row, well, it's not very convenient because there's not much space on offer. Under thigh support is poor. But you know what? It gets a power tailgate, which is unique. And it also gets electrically retracting third row of seats. Yeah, you can retract them and put them back by pressing a button. That's super cool. Unfortunately though, Ford removed headlight washers on the facelift of the Endeavour, and the steering is only adjustable for height. Yeah, you can't move it ahead or behind. It's kind of weird for a 40 lakh car. This Sync 3 system is really very brilliant, and audio quality is also very nice. The instrument cluster, mixed feelings actually, because it's got these two screens on either sides with an analog speedometer in the center. You get plenty of information on the instrument cluster, which is also a cool thing. You can't hear the car much when you're driving because Ford has given this active noise cancellation. You see there are a lot of these small mics inside the car which actually play low frequency sounds in reverse to cancel them out, so you can't hear anything. Well, that's a genius. And you obviously get the usual bits like automatic headlights, automatic wipers, projector setup, you name it. The car is loaded with a ton of features, but my personal favorite is the self-park because it just works flawlessly well. And even in tight confines, you can park the car relying on the system, although it does freak you out at times, but you have to trust it. It doesn't go wrong at all. The Ford Endeavour has always had a soft suspension setup, and the Sport does absolutely nothing to the mechanicals of the car, which means that the ride is really nice and supple. You have that little bit of lumpiness because of the body on frame nature of the vehicle. However, the ride is really very smooth. It flattens out beautifully, and no matter how bad the roads are, the car just feels rugged and indestructible, taking almost everything in its stride without any issue whatsoever, because obviously it has a nice suspension travel as well. The handling is also quite decent, but the steering is a bit numb now. It doesn't have the same sharpness which was there in the earlier Endeavour, so that's gone. I'm comparing it to the 2.2 and the 3.2, not really to the regular Endeavour which has chrome instead of black, but we'll again talk about that when we are outside the car. Boy oh boy, what a view! Coming to such a place reminds you how big the world is and you can really enjoy nature. Now of course regular cars can go fast, but SUVs can go anywhere. Obviously it's a very capable SUV, which we'll find out in a bit. Now on the exterior front there are certain changes, on the interior there are none. What do we get on the outside? At the front you get a black finish grille. The bumper is also finished in black and it gets smoked headlights as well. And this is the ebony black which has been carried forward to the outside rear view mirrors as well. The roof rails and the side footsteps are also finished in black. Unfortunately, they ran out of black paint when it came to the door handles, which are still chrome. They should have been painted black, never mind, I'll paint it myself. The wheels are also finished in black, but it's a different design for the alloy wheels, and of course at the rear you get a lot more black treatment. The bumper is black, this is also black where Endeavour is written, but unfortunately four-wheel drive continues to be in chrome, which kind of looks weird. However, to make sure that this is recognized as an Endeavour Sport, Ford has put 3 sport stickers on the car, 2 on the rear door and 1 on the boot lid right there. The car does look mafia and gangster, and certainly it ups the appeal of the vehicle. But the good looking part ends here because I prefer brown over black. So it's time to test the true mettle of the Endeavour Sport by taking it to a place where it truly belongs, that is off-road. Ford Endeavour is a very capable car off the road. We've driven it in the dunes before and it performed flawlessly there. Today we are on a different kind of a terrain. It is filled with every kind of off-road situation you can throw at it. Like, of course, there are river streams, there are rocks, a little bit of slush as well, and some muck too. And the Endeavour really performs flawlessly. Now, of course, it has good amount of ground clearance, but you still have to be a little bit careful over really bad bumps, because when you go off-road, it's uneven, right? And you can dive into the nose, you can dive the nose right into some sort of a hiccup. But that aside, it has got good amount of water weighting capacity as well. And it also comes with a rear locking differential along with a low range gearbox and terrain modes too. Wow, but none of them have been used right now. It's pure four-wheel drive. The soft suspension definitely helps in giving the driver a comfortable ride. Meanwhile, what really makes a big difference here is the fact that you get a good visibility of what's around, and the car has good amount of punch. There's good amount of grunt to pull it through off-road situations. The torque really helps in this sense. The steering is light, it's easy to twirl, and if you feel the need for speed off the road, you can up the pace. And the Endeavour just takes everything so well. Yeah, the camera's gonna move a lot. The reins have plain spoiled sport. And oh my goodness, did we just... Where was it and where do I start from now? So, if you decide to up the pace of the Endeavour off the road, well, it does move around a bit because of the soft suspension, but still it's a very comfortable and easy car to drive. Right now, of course, we are going through terrain which is absolutely challenging because the rains have played complete spoil sport today and it's so wet. Spotting becomes a little difficult off the road when you're driving a car which is so big in size because the roads are super narrow here. So the Ford Endeavour can take all this in its stride without any effort whatsoever while being very comfortable on the road, and of course it's got the premium feel as well. So it's kind of offering you the best of both worlds. The Ford Endeavour Sport isn't really a sporty model because other than the cosmetic changes, it doesn't have much to offer you. Yes, mechanically nothing has changed, which is very unlike Ford because Ford always gives you some or the other mechanical change with a sport edition of its cars. Now, of course, this particular model is pitched against the Toyota Fortuner TRD Sportivo, and in that sense, yeah, it's quite acceptable. However, I think the regular Endeavour still comes across as a better bet because I'm sure Ford is going to charge you a premium for something which you can actually do aftermarket as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give the thumbs up, that's a like button, and also subscribe to the MotorBeam channel.